Welcome to Red Stars Report, a podcast for fans of Chicago Stars FC and a community for everyone. I am your host, LT. Joining me today in Liz's absence is Joe Chatz of On Tap
Good
Sports.
evening. Yeah, thank you so much, LT. So happy to be here. I already cut you off once, so this is
You're
gonna be
good.
great.
Joe also happens to sit right next to me in the press box each week.
That's
So
oh
this
my
is
God, we just fidget next to each other and I love it. It's perfect.
this,
And I can just he gets to hear my really like unkempt thoughts. So
yeah,
the
this
fact that he
this kind
still
of
wants to talk
discussion
to me.
isn't something that's new to us. So
No, 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 no. I very much enjoy it. I sit next to LT and the lovely Leslie from Gal Pal Sports, and I really get everything I need from a day, and I'm always better for it. Also, I just find myself shaking my head at least one thing I said to you every week, because I'm like, God, that's just not something you should ever say in public.
it's okay. I have a horrible memory. I probably don't remember most of the things that are said to
Remember
me.
what? Perfect. Exactly. Boom. Oh my God. Already off to a perfect start.
So a lot has happened this week surrounding this club. We had the dismissal of head coach Lorne Donaldson after 2 months into his second season with the club. The club's general manager Richard Feuz told media on Thursday that the decision was made based solely on performance of the club. And then flash forward to Sunday, where the team earns a draw in a scoreless match against Gotham FC, one of the top three or four clubs, depending on how the other matches go this weekend in the
Mhm.
league currently. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's sort of start off with the removal of Lorne as head coach. Joe, what were your initial thoughts on hearing this news?
My initial thoughts always came down to, this made sense in terms of when you look at it from a macro lens. Coach hired before GM, team underperforming. The first person to be hired or fired is always going to be the coach, right? There aren't really many other options right now. Obviously, you can't really bring in anybody. You can't send anybody out. So makes sense that Lauren would be the one to be removed. Right decision or not, either way, it makes sense that that would happen. The team hasn't played well all year. You're looking at the type of soccer they were playing. It wasn't particularly pleasing to the eye, nor was it, utilizing the best of what some of their players can do, particularly in the midfield, right? It was just so direct and seemed uncreative. And my whole criticism of it always was it made sense for national team soccer, resembled that Jamaica squad that he did had so much success with, but they barely trained, right? Jamaica dealt with all types of adversity off the pitch and they were able to win in spite of it. And part of it was just not training that much. And one of the benefits of that system is you don't necessarily need to. It can be that grind set. And once you're in a club setting, that can work when you have a Mallory Swanson in the middle, but it's not reliable. Every game they were winning last year, those 1-0 games, everyone was like, well, they stole that. And people would look at the stats. They hadn't watched the game from around the country. And what was the response? How did they do that? This doesn't make sense. This can't be sustainable, but it took them to the postseason, right? But it also didn't give them the draws. They only had 2 draws. We saw today, right? That helps now, but it just never seemed to click against good teams, particularly in the NWSL. And it makes sense that it was Lauren who was always going to be the fall guy in this situation.
Yeah, it did feel sort of inevitable, really. My day job, I work in TV news, and this felt like a very similar situation where a new GM comes into a station, and in that industry, a news director is sort of already in place sometimes, and that news director normally doesn't survive a new
Yep.
GM. That GM's going to bring in their own person. So,
Yeah, they just normally weren't hired within a month of each other, right?
that's true. Yeah, Richard knew that Lorne was the guy in place before he got hired, so obviously they tried to work it out with him. It didn't seem to work
Yep.
out. So an opportunity to sort of change uh, that position in this club, and that's the position that Richard took, and ownership and the front office, whatever, collectively. And then I agree with you completely that Lawrence match tactics seem to work out sort of in short spurts here and there, finding results last season. This season, it really felt like most teams knew how to handle Chicago offensively. So no effective adjustments were being made or any adjustments at all to sort of find results in a different way. And you know, anyone can sit there and think this was the right or wrong decision, but it was inevitable. I think everyone can agree that it was going to happen at some point, and maybe just people didn't feel like it was going to happen this early.
Yeah, and no one expects to start a season 1-5, right? This team is too talented. The depth is a real issue. We can get to that eventually, but it was so jarring. The results were awful. That Utah loss was such a kick to the stomach. San Diego at home, it was in front of a good crowd for Kids Day. It was actually a really nice crowd for a pretty
It
crappy
was.
day out. So it just stunk. And at a certain point, you need to certainly change things. And players, you could kind of see it on the pitch. It seemed like they were not giving up. That's never the right way to describe it, but you could see the lack of creativity in the tactics were frustrating at times because there's only so many times you can try to pump it up, win that second ball, and then just go and immediately try to win with 27% possession or something. So it just became untenable, I guess, and we're here now.
Yeah. Yeah, Richard spoke to the media in a presser the day after, spoke about the decision being sort of solely performance based, mentioned several
Mhm.
times that Lorne is a good person, good human, brought up,
Great.
you know, the locker room environment that he envisioned for the club, maintain that his
Hmm.
relationship with Lorne is good, all
Yeah, yeah,
normal
yeah.
GM talk. It's like,
Hmm.
you're not going to expect a GM to come in front of the media and say that he had a bad relationship with a coach or bad, players on the roster. So,
Yeah, but also what's been the big rumor, right? Lorne maybe going to Denver. Let's say Lorne's in charge in Denver. It would make sense if Richard is still in charge of Chicago to maintain a good relationship, right? So there's
sure,
also
sure.
that, right?
Yeah, you want
Okay.
to maintain a good relationship, of course, but you're not going to go in front of
No,
media and say
that
anything
would be
bad
wild.
about your club. It's just not,
No,
it's not
no,
going
no,
to
no, no.
happen.
That's what he's paid
So
to do.
I don't know if anybody expected anything to sort of come out of that other than, what words that are for the ownership and for
Yeah.
the rest of the team and front office. That's who he was speaking to. And, he did mention things like wanting the team to be more focused on getting in front of goal, getting into the box.
Right.
Says that data never lies, wants to improve where the data shows is lacking. I don't know about that.
It sounds good.
It
It
sounds
makes sense. He
good.
said what you need to say in his role, right? He
Yeah.
did his job in that day. It was going to be a tongue lashing of sorts and then writing about it. There was no winning that press conference
Hmm.
in a way. And it all comes down to what is he being empowered to do? And if he's been missing on targets because of something, but there's the money there, then that is on
Yeah.
Richard. But at this point, now it's on ownership to be like, okay, we need to change something because the results aren't here at this point of the season. Yes, they had the result today, but this is now needs to be a situation where, okay, Richard's still here. Richard needs to be empowered to add players and add some talent to this team because there is talent in this team. But NWSL is tough. You got to rotate at times. It's a long season, and this team needs some additions to really buoy them to be not only a team that makes the playoffs, right? They want to compete. They've got the talent. You've got Alyssa Dayer in the last year of her contract. Come on, you got to compete this year. And Chicago needs to make a couple moves this summer, more than a couple probably, to be in that place.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a obviously there's the elephant in the room. Mallory Swanson has been gone
Yeah.
this whole season, and then so has Natalia Kuika.
Yeah, that
And
was it. That was not expected to be this long.
yeah, that was not expected to last this long, and we still don't really have a timeline on that
No.
one. And it's impressive what the outside backs have been able to do in her absence, but also there, like you mentioned, there needs to be rotation. It would be nice
Yep.
to have a Natalia Kuika to go 70, 80, 90
It'd
minutes,
be amazing.
um, or, other players to be able to rotate on one side while she takes the full 90s. It's needed. She's not here,
Yeah.
but it's been working out in some ways at sometimes, for the most part, for those outside backs. So I wouldn't put the blame of 1-5 start on the absence of Natalia Kuika
No,
either. So
no,
there's
but
a lot more wrong with this club than just missing players.
no, but she is that good that she
Yeah.
is a game changer and in transition, right? When you talk about the goal scoring issues, her not being on the pitch is is a big issue. If you think of Cameron Bogalski and Taylor Malum as outside backs, they're defense first outside backs. That's how they are. That's their strength. They can move forward, but if you're
Yeah.
expecting them to deliver 4 or 5 great crosses a game, that's just not fair based on the current data. If we're looking at it, right? If we want to use that phrase, so it is a really big loss, right? Ella Mazur was going around in the offseason telling conferences saying, no, this is the best defender in the world and would be treated as such if she were American. And I don't actually disagree with her when you look at the way she plays and when she's empowered to move up the pitch. This is Kuika, right? She is that much of a game changer. And missing her is a huge thing. But at the same time, this team still needs to be able to create. But missing her has been, it really is a massive loss for this
It
team,
is.
too, alongside Swanson.
Absolutely. And even Jenna Bike being out this whole
Yeah.
season and her ability to win balls up high or win
Mhm.
corners, like this team struggles to win set pieces. And Jenna Bike has always been that,
Yeah.
energizer player to be able to win those kinds of balls. And so her absence as well this entire season has been felt too, I think, especially in the depth aspect of the team because
Yeah.
even if you're not going to start her, it's like how many of these forwards or even non-forwards have they been throwing out there as forwards that are not named Jenna Bike? It's
Yeah.
like I think that's another name that can be thrown out there with the other two as well that have really led to uh, a decrease in offensive capabilities for this club.
Yeah, and Jenna Bike, and I think of her and Ava Cook in a similar way, in that they bring such an edge in their game too, right? Where it's the high effort, willing to get in dirty areas. Like if you're up a goal, you bring them on in the 75th, 80th minute. That is a great duo to kill the clock, play smart, maybe take a tactical yellow, right? They're better than just being that scrappy type of player, don't get me wrong. But as they come back to full strength, right, those are huge, huge pieces to the depth of this squad when you look at NWSL squads. They don't all have those killer pieces to bring on at the end of games. And it's just Chicago can't even get to those moments right now. But once those two can be fully healthy and doing that, it's another level of this team that not every team in the NWSL has, off the bench especially.
Yeah, that's why I think I've struggled with sort of getting on board with this narrative that like Chicago has like completely missed in the off season. It's like they have players, they have talent.
Yeah,
Maybe people were looking for like one more superstar to
yeah.
add to the team, but you didn't know that Mal was going to be gone. You didn't know that uh, that Natalia was going to be gone. Like it's people are
Those are
not
two
looking
massive
at
pieces.
yeah, they're
If
not
you want
looking
to
at
rank the roster, those are two top 5 players on the team.
yeah, exactly. So when you don't expect that as a GM as a front office to be a problem to start your season, it's like you're why would you add a superstar forward or a superstar
Exactly.
outside back? It's like I don't know. And like you said, who knows if they were even enabled to be able to go after anybody specifically. Like we don't know the finer details of what the front office has done other than them just saying that they're always looking to sign players. We've talked about it. Liz and I have talked about it on countless episodes about like who wants to play in Chicago. Like there's many reasons why players may not want to come here and play for this club. So, you factor that in behind the scenes, you really have no idea what it could be like to as a struggle to sign players to this squad.
Yeah, there are parallels in the last two firings, right? Mal's absence being the main, connector of both of them for obviously different reasons, but it is really stark to see the way these teams, when you look at them on paper, healthy, you could see all three of the last year's teams making playoffs, right? Going back the last three seasons. And then it leads to things today where I just feel like Ludmila's frustrated because nothing's easy at this point for her. One of the things that was really enticing, I imagine, for her when she signed here is, oh, this is going to be a little bit easier for me. I'm going to have more space than I ever have next to a player like Mallory Swanson. And she just hasn't had that this year. You saw what she could do when she's on fire against Bay FC when it was her and Jamise Joseph doing what they did. But it's not fair to solely rely on those two. And it's just been a lack of creativity this year. Ali Schlegel's been grinding, but she had the one shot that was blocked. Was it BFC? Silkowitz, the goalkeeper, who made a
Yeah.
great save. Yeah, it was the left-footed strike from Ali that
Mhm.
was sensational. Of course, got blocked, but she hasn't. I mean, obviously, scoring's been an issue for everybody, but it just hasn't been able to work. And it's pretty logical to explain why when you look at, well, this big hole in the middle, no number
Yeah.
nine.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, you're right about Ludmila probably coming here and thinking I'm probably going to have one person sort of marking
Yep.
me most of the time because everyone's going to be focused on Mal. And
Yep.
now she's the one that everyone's sort of focusing on, leaving a second year player like Jamise to sort of try to generate as much offense as
Yeah.
she can from that right side. And it's just not, she can't do it alone.
She
And
almost
there's
did. She almost did it
you
against
almost did.
Gotham.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. We can talk about that match. Let's sort of get into it. The
Oh
the
gosh.
first match without Lorne, Masaki Hemmi goes by Mac, is the new interim head coach, which he was elevated to after being the first assistant coach under Lorne. Richard Voits did state that they wanted to sort of maintain this hierarchy of their established coaching staff.
Hmm.
So, what did you think sort of looked different under Hemi? We knew that there was going to be like minor changes, nothing major. He even mentioned pre-match during his presser that he thought it would be unfair to players to sort of drastically change everything sort of
Yeah.
leading into this match. So, even just the little things, what did you sort of notice different?
So I'd say it was all a little bit different before the subs came in the 75th minute, but possession was the first thing, just slowing the game down and not just doing the pump it up to Lumila and see what she can do. There was a little bit more patience. We were trying to work it through the midfield. Did it work? No, they didn't have a shot on goal until the second half, right? And
Yeah.
so that was an issue. It had to be the Jamise Joseph show, but they were clearly trying to do stuff differently, right? The Joseph BK shout, like game's gone if that's a PK. I'm sorry, but like, yeah, no, just I was so upset that that was called on the field. That's just not a PK. Sorry, Jamise Joseph's great. Really enjoy watching her. Wasn't a PK.
She needs to
Nothing
learn how to fall
personal.
though. Sell it
Yeah,
over.
go down. Like I'm just. She's so strong. You know how strong she is, right? Like
Hmm.
I get it, but it was just if we start calling things like that a PK, that's a floodgate that I just can't handle. So that's a soccer issue. That's not that situation specifically. But there was still the lack of an attack other than really going through Ludmila and Jamise. The left side of the attack had some success with Taylor Malum, Maitane. They're still developing on that side of the pitch. I'm still curious what it's going to take to get the best out of Julia Grosso, right? We just haven't seen it. Still no goal contributions for Chicago, right? That's the big question mark for me at this point because we see it with Canada. She has the talent, she has the skill. We just have not seen it turn into success in terms of goal creation in Chicago. And that's the big question for me this summer and the next few weeks is can they get the most out of her? Because if she starts rolling, it could really open things up for this team. But you saw a little bit of things today, and just if they had lost at the end, that really would have put things in a much different mood, right? Losing potentially to a 14-year-old scoring in the 6th minute of second half stoppage time, but Alyssa Nair gets down to her right and makes a sensational save. And
Yeah.
it's a clean sheet, 0-0, right? A fantastic result for them. You know, I don't care what it is. 0-0 result at
Feels like a
Gotham.
win.
You had chances. Yeah, after this week, you'll take it. Next week's a different story, but it was a solid enough result, understanding that, yeah, this offense still has a lot of questions that remain unanswered.
Yeah, when it comes to Julia, I would think moving her centrally would help immensely. Um,
Please,
4-2-3-1
something.
something. Uh, she did she did have a couple of when she was with Canada, they had some injuries on that left side, and she had sort of
Yeah,
been playing on that left wing for them and getting some goals and goal contributions for them. And you can see that she does seem a little more comfortable over there than she does at defensive midfield, at least in this
yeah.
style that Chicago plays. With Canada defensive midfield, she looks good still.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the thing that I find with her, it's like if you're playing on the left wing, and you see, Mies on the right wing, she gets the ball, she pushes forward.
Yeah,
Julia passes the ball and then drops
yep,
back into the midfield, like waiting to receive the ball again. She's
yep,
not playing like a left winger where you want to push up the
yep.
field. So playing out of position, but still trying to play like a midfielder and moving her
No,
centrally, I think would be better.
she in the way that Chicago is currently built to play requires so much from their midfielders defensively. You need to get back in the box anytime there's a chance, right? Even on the counterattack, you are hauling tail back. And that's not necessarily Julia Grosso's strength. She's not going to
No.
lead you in blocks, right? That's not what she's there for. That's not why you signed her. That's not why you brought her here. That's why B. Franklin is such an endearing player to watch, because she goes in those battles with Jalen Howell, like we saw, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Bring me more of that soccer. Those two going at it, the respect, all of it. I loved it. And that's the type of player Chicago currently needs in the profile of their midfield. You've seen that the defensive success with Kerry Recaro at center back is real. In Julia Grosso, if you put her in attacking scenarios, I think really can create for these players. She's not going to fill the Swanson void, but she can create opportunities up the pitch that this team just hasn't had. And I think she can be the player who creates easy opportunities. When was the last time the Stars had a header, a free header, right?
Yeah.
It's been so long, and to expect them exclusively from Sam Stop free kicks isn't fair, because those are usually 30, 40-yard kicks, right? Like, that's unrealistic unless there's a massive mistake. And I think Julia Grosso can be that person that can then buoy the Ludmilas, Ali Schlegels of the world, Jamise Josephs, with those easy header goals. And then, boom, skyrocket. Look at the back line. You say, why can't we hold these teams to more clean sheets? And it's a different squad, but it needs to look differently, but that'll take time.
Yeah. When you look at the makeup of their defensive midfield right now, you're so right
Yeah.
about B. Franklin in that area. Obviously, neutralizing Jalen Howell was
Mhm.
huge for them this week. B and Maitani have really solidified their roles with sort of clogging up the middle the last few matches. And like you said, that's really what they're asked to do in this style. But I feel like once Maitani sort of got into that role and they pushed Carey back,
Mhm.
it felt like such a huge shift because Maitani is more capable of knowing when to step forward and when
Yep.
she needs to fall back. And she doesn't fall back into the back line as much as Carey used to, but she still knows how to defend the top of the box
Yeah.
a lot better. And I think that's helped Chicago, especially this week, because then, that all leads to uh, Gotham's offense being pushed down the sidelines, leaving a lot for, Cam and Taylor to do. And I thought both of them also held their own. Cam in particular against Ella Stevens was spectacular. And then utilizing Gotham's focus on pushing players high up those sidelines, use that in turnovers and transition to sort of get Taylor and Cam up high, which is, you know, not new, but in a
Yeah.
consistent way this match felt like you'd really want a Natalia Kuika in that space to
Oh,
to be able to utilize that space and the free field that they really had the left and right side for most of the match.
Yeah, there's a lot of confidence to have in this back line. And you look at the chances Gotham had today. You had the one at the end that nearly would have been catastrophic, right? But also the other one was a fluke. That was just a clearance from Kerry Riccaro gets blocked and is nearly a golazo from 30 yards or 20 yards, right?
Right.
So they weren't even giving up, high percentage chances. They neutralized a stare, right? But that hasn't been done in NWSL this year. They
No.
made her a forgotten story. What was it, 6 touches in the first half? That's
Yeah.
nothing for the best player on this team for Gotham this year, the best scorer in NWSL this year. So defensively, right, there's a whole lot of reasons to be confident. They're not going to get clean sheets every game. That's unrealistic, right? This league is way too good. But if they can figure some things out offensively, they can get a goal or two up. There's no reason to not be comfortable with the players they have in transition if they need to then be that team that drops back five or six and then just goes on the counter attack. Imagine you're up a goal and you're defending a corner. You can just say, hey, Ludmila, we're going to try to clear it to you and just run. That could kill a team in the 60th minute. And it makes sense, but they got to get everyone healthy, and it really needs to happen soon. But it makes sense. But the Gotham result showed a lot of good things defensively. Offensively, it's
Yeah.
just there's so many questions to be answered still.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, you're right about neutralizing a stare. I thought I think she had 22 touches in total,
Yeah,
two
insane.
shots, which is very unlike her, both off target or blocked. So not even a shot on goal. A player who has 7 goals on the season already. So, props to Carrie and Sam for sort of playing a role in knowing when to step to her and doing it well.
Two straight 90s for Sam, 10 months after,
Huge.
less than 10 months after. It's insane. Like, she is really, like, I think we're going to look back and be like, she's one of the all-time defenders in NWSL. And if
I
she
think I do that
continues
after
playing
like
like
two or
that,
three seasons.
yeah, exactly. But it's really fun to watch her clearly back to seeming like Sam Stott because she is such a dynamic player at center back that you she didn't connect on really any long passes today, right?
Yeah,
And you
she's
saw
still
that.
certainly getting her feet under
Yeah.
her when it comes to the ball at her feet. But
Then you look at everything she did defensively, and you're like, okay,
yep,
who cares, right?
you're
If
like,
that's
ah,
what you're
she's
gonna do
back.
for me, okay, it's all a bonus, right? That other stuff is gonna come, and just
Mhm.
the Sam Staub of it all has been really, really fun to watch because I thought she was gonna be out till after the summer break, just because
Yeah.
football, other than Aaron Rodgers, told me that. But she's Sam Staub and clearly did it the right way, and kudos to her because it really is if Chicago can turn it around, that will be one of the stories of the season because nobody does that.
Yeah, preseason we were certainly talking about was it going to be Carrie, Maitani?
Yeah.
Surprise, it was B uh for a few matches. But yeah, Sam being back playing two full 90s, absolutely huge. That's something that I don't think anyone expected to come anytime soon. To even obviously to even step on the pitch in the first match was huge, but
Blew my mind.
to be 7 matches in and her already doing full 90s, that's massive for this team moving forward. And now just hoping that Natu can come back and keep improving that defense, because if you can hold teams to 0 or 1 goal, then they have a
Yeah.
chance. But offensively, they need to,
Oy.
yeah, still only 1 shot on goal this match. We mentioned it,
Uh-huh.
the Jamise Joseph, she sort of took it herself from near
Yeah.
midfield and drove it all the way, shot outside the box, great shot. Unfortunately, impressively blocked by and Katrin Berger, who's goalkeeper of the year last
Yeah,
season.
exactly. Nothing, yeah. Of course, she's made it look easy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
the goalkeeping display. Like, it's one of those games where I really kind of wish each team had 10 shots on goal and it was clean sheets both ways because that would be an all-timer just with
Oh
these two
yeah.
on the pitch. It
I mean,
really isn't
Alyssa
worth it.
had 5 saves
Yeah,
on
she was
the
great.
match, two absolutely crucial, as you had mentioned, both of them, um, like saving the day as she has done countless times in her career, but both domestically and internationally. But
Yeah.
yeah, something does need to change significantly with this offense going forward. I expect more focus will obviously be shifted in that direction in the coming weeks under Mac,
Hmm.
who did praise, Mies post match for her overall play and that shot specifically. So he knows what he has, the tools he has, and hopefully he finds a way to utilize them in the coming weeks.
Yeah, you'd have to hope, and it'll be interesting, right? I just always bring up Ava Cook because she brings that direct soccer, and you can if you win second balls off of the headers, she can win, right? It just makes life so much easier for you when you're struggling and you can't get things going. So that's just the one solution I see, and obviously with the 17-year-old Michaela Johnson. I don't think we've seen anything but things we love and when she's on the pitch, right? So any opportunity if everyone who's, around her day to day believes she can handle a bigger workload, I I say let her go because she seems to be that type of player at such a young age, which is just fun to watch.
Yeah, she's obviously just watching her skill on the ball, her
Yeah,
speed, her just technical ability at 17, uh, under a 3-year contract with this club
yeah,
gives you a lot of hope. And if she is capable of taking on more and more and makes herself willing, hopefully the new coach sees it and allows her to do it. Because I think even in a even if this season turns out to be a losing season later in the match
hmm
or later in the season, you don't see them making the playoffs. I would love to see her just
please.
60, 70 minutes a match, like just get some minutes
Yeah.
under her and see what she can do.
Yeah, the biggest thing I've liked from watching her is you can see with, U17s, right? She scores these goals that you're like, well, those aren't going to be goals at NWSL, right? You're just better than everybody, and you know it, and you're just making the smart move. You
Yeah.
can do a touch around somebody because you are that good. And she doesn't try to do that in NWSL, which I think is her biggest asset at that point. At this point, is she understands what she can do at certain levels, and I just think if she already has that type of soccer IQ, sky's really the limit. And you have to assume if she thinks like that, she must be a sponge in the locker room. You don't get to know her that well in media yet because you're not going to push with the 17-year-old, right? So it's going to be really interesting from all perspectives. She seems delightful. So that's one of those players that, let's say she even gets 5 goal contributions this year. I mean, obviously everything looks a bit rough right now, but if you can do that from a backup winger who plays 15, 20 minutes a game, that's huge.
Yeah.
And if she also happens to be 17 and doing that, that is massive.
It speaks to the depth that you were
Yes.
talking about. Like we don't know if it's there, but we can see that it could potentially be there with her.
Yeah, it's just it was clear that there needed to be more. There needed to be more depth. There's a lack of veterans back there. You see what Maitani does for this team, right? Someone experienced in the league who's just been around different clubs recently, and what that can do. She can play right now. Who knows? Maybe she'll miss out on a game just because of competition week to week. These things happen in professional sports. You need that at every position. You can't really have that at every position right now, but you need that ideally at every position. And Chicago just doesn't have that at every position, particularly where they need it in the attacking third.
Yeah, and they're a fairly young
Yeah,
team, but
still.
also they're some of their veteran players are new to this league as well.
Yeah.
So they're also still trying to figure out the play of this league, the speed of this league, the style, what they can and can't do, like a Ludmila, or a Julia Grosso, or
Yeah.
it's like you don't know exactly how their careers in the NWSL are going to work out, even though you know what they've done internationally and also with other clubs outside of the United States.
Yeah, and you obviously when you go from a league, there's European leagues where some of the bottom teams just aren't good. it is a transition week to week, and it's going to take them time. But this is kind of where it needs to flip a switch. And Ludmila, you can see the effort and you can see the frustration on her face when she's not performing how she wants to. And I get it, right? I'd be feeling way more like that. I wouldn't be as composed as she is if I were acting like if I'm in those situations. But nothing's been easy for them to come back to that point. And they just need to find some ways to build that confidence because you can see when they flip that switch, they are just completely different players. And like Ludmila today, her long passes were rough, to put it
Yeah.
kindly. They just weren't good. And that was her trying to do too much. Clearly, like one of them was like from left back almost. It's just, what are you doing? Go be in an attacking position. Look for
Yeah.
that second ball. Try to win the first ball. Don't like you've got players who can do this, and it just there was the frustration. And Grosso doesn't necessarily play that same way, but you can see that they just need to insert themselves a little bit more in those attacking spaces because they're there. They just haven't been able to make it easy for themselves or teammates or been put in easy positions. It's just not been there all year.
Yeah, and it does come down to the people around them too sometimes. Like there were sometimes this week and last week where, Ludmila was making good runs, putting her hand up, get me the ball, and then she's offside, and then
Yeah.
everything's a little,
Yeah.
and even if like the ball didn't even make it to her eventually, like she was still there making a run and no one saw her. So it's like you got to find those moments. You got to find her when she knows that she's ready. And because of her speed and sometimes her impatience, she can she can get
Yep.
offside every once in a while. By the time the ball does go in her direction, so it's unfortunate to see changes need to be made. And we'll sort of see how a full week under this new administration sort of goes.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how they come out Sunday or Saturday against Washington. Not the strongest Washington team you'll see. So this is the opportunity to potentially make a statement at home. 11:50 kickoff, apparently. Let's see if it actually kicks off at 11:50. I'll be skeptical to see,
We
but
got to look at what's on ABC before that.
yeah, exactly. What is on ABC on a
At
Saturday
11
morning? That
a.m.
is
I don't
not for
know.
us. That is not for us. Like, no,
Not the
no.
demographic.
Yeah, ideally, God no. So they need to start stringing together some results, right? Before Kansas City, ideally, they've got two matches that I'd consider winnable, in Washington and North Carolina. If they could potentially leave that with 4 points, that would be fabulous. Three would, they need a win. They really need a win and a confident performance. If they have the type of loss that you can at least say there was production, that's what you need because it's not going to get any easier. It's the NWSL, but Chicago has the talent right now to at least do something. And a week or two with whatever changes Mac is going to make. That's a big question, right? What is he going to do? Most recently, it's an interim head coach in men's soccer in the USL Championship. Completely different league, right? Not like
Sure.
NWSL, arguably the best league in the world. USL Championship, not the best men's league in the United States, right? So like these are very different worlds. New Mexico's budget, not there. So I'm very curious to see what his teams look like and how different they potentially are than Lorne's. I'm skeptical because he comes from Lorne's background, right? So why wouldn't I, just based on that? But I'm hoping there are changes, right? Like not a fan, but as someone who just is here to watch all these games, I'd like to see some more entertaining soccer, some more possession-based soccer because they have the talent to do it. It's just about now getting some confidence in this roster and getting some results.
Yeah, obviously a couple of like minor changes on the field this week from him. Obvious changes sort of came with the substitutions. I think this was the
Yes.
first looking at Shar and Mana
Hmm.
were available again off the bench. After some matches, not even dressing, and then to see Chardonnay sort of come in as a sub for the first time in a
Yep.
while, used Shea for the first time in a while. It's so you see that he has his own thoughts and the little things that he thinks could make a difference. And um, I don't know what the grand scheme of things sort of looks for
Yeah.
him overall, but you could see at least in the substitution windows that there were some choices that Lorne didn't usually make that he
Yeah.
decided to make.
Chardonnay Curran, I think, proved today that if they need a goal, she's a great option off the bench. She does more on the left side, and she can be on both sides, but similar things to what Jenna does, not necessarily that top level edge, more of a technical player. But Chardonnay Curran has that type of speed that requires you to focus on her no matter what, or else she'll sneak in behind on a back end run and she'll potentially score, right? So I think she proved that she needs to be in the match day squad at this point. She has the positional flexibility, especially she's the type who you could put in a wing back, outside back role if you're chasing a goal, especially because you know she'll hustle back. So I that was one thing. And I feel bad, right? Nadia Gomes and Catherine Barry are good players, but when you have players who aren't signed through past June 30th, I just don't understand. Like, that tells me there's no confidence in them long term, right? Or else they'd be signed. So it just never made sense that they were playing over these other players. So seeing that happen, I would love to see some Mana Hayashi minutes just
Same.
because every person in soccer that you talk to about her said, like, just it speaks the world of her talent. So especially a player like her, a technical midfielder, it's going to take some time. Like, there are going to be mistakes, but she's one of these players that her ceiling is through the roof. And I would love to see her get some minutes at some point because she can do so much creatively. She can bring so much up the pitch. She's got a little edge to her too that I really think could do some things for this team.
Yeah, she came in for I think it was like 5 or 6 minutes in that first match against Orlando,
Yep.
and in those 5 or 6 minutes created three chances. Uh, like,
Yeah.
and then obviously she came in that
I don't
next
know.
match. You saw some of those like rookie mistakes and her trying to figure things
Yeah.
out, and then she was never utilized again. And it
Yep.
was like, can we sort of like
Well, they're losing anyways,
you
right?
signed her to another player who's signed under a long-term deal, like
Yep.
utilize them. Like I didn't
Yeah.
understand this whole
Let them
season
learn.
using, the short-term contract players like you mentioned. It's like you got to get the players that are going to be here in the future these minutes and not the
Yep.
players who aren't going to be here in the future. And Ava's another one that I'd hoped we would see this week.
Yes.
That was unfortunate. Like she's a player that can, I think, like plays a style that not a whole lot of players on this team in the front line can play. She can play with her back to the goal, which I don't think anyone else really plays like
Hmm.
that on this front line. And I think the team could use a player like that, especially in the last 20, 15 minutes of a match. And not seeing her today, I thought was an interesting choice, putting Leilani Nesmith in that position instead, who has gotten 50 minutes this season and has two yellow cards, like a bowling
Yeah.
pin or a bowling ball out there, just bowling a China shop or whatever.
Yeah, I really wish they'd give Leilani another opportunity at those defensive midfielder spots because she has a confidence about her and she has a will. She's so smart on the pitch, right? She knows what she wants to do. She'll take the fouls because at heart, right, she's got that mindset of the defensive midfielder who doesn't want to get beat. So I would love to see her get a run. This is where I kind of wish there was a midseason competition too, right? Just to get some other players some minutes because I think Leilani Nesbitt is just been stuck on the bench and hasn't had the opportunities to make some mistakes. And that's why we see in these cameos, it's a yellow card that you're like, why did that happen? But if it happened over a 70-minute run as a starter, you'd be like, okay, that can happen to a young player. These things happen. She just hasn't been given that runway. But seeing her come on instead of Ava Cook told me that Chicago was content leaving today against Gotham with 0-0 because otherwise they would have been going for it. But you could see why that's more of a defensive change at that point.
Right. But even if you're not, um, even if you're playing for a draw, like wouldn't you want 5'9", 5'10" Ava Cook out there on set piece corners that are
You'd think.
in your box? Like
You'd
that's
think.
that's where my thinking went. Yeah, I don't know about. I think Leilani got a lot of minutes last season.
Hmm.
Um, after Julia Bianchi was benched in that defensive midfield role. I
Oh,
think,
she tore her ACL. I feel horrible.
yeah, Julia Bianchi was one of
Yeah.
my. I still have her
Oh,
jersey over there.
delightful person.
I loved
Delightful
Julia,
person.
and I
Great.
was so
She
sad when she left this
improved.
team.
Yeah. No, like
Yeah,
I understand why she also wanted to go home. Like also she's clearly happy there. But just yeah, heartbroken. Her Tatum also tore. Yeah, it's been a tough year for former stars players and
yeah,
ACLs. It just yeah, that one was a
Tierna
bummer.
too.
But she's one of the yeah, oh yeah, Tierna Davidson. Yeah. Did you get like Rose Lavelle with a fork in
The
her mouth
fork.
on the broadcast? I really hope someone got some pictures of her, and that's going to be in the
I
locker
think I
room
saw.
this
I think
week.
I saw some
Okay,
floating
good.
around. I'm sure someone will grab it.
Please, please, because that was just, I assume she was doing a bit. It's Rose Lavelle. She was doing a bit. I was just like, where's the dog? Give me the dog.
But yeah, hey, again, if you want to talk about the set pieces for Chicago, Julia Bianchi would have been a perfect
Yeah,
example
man.
of someone that could actually get some good set pieces for this team. But I think Leilani got a lot of minutes last
Yeah.
season in place of Julia. I think probably not having like I know Carrie Ricara was there for some of
Yeah.
those matches, but I think some matches she had be
Yeah.
in the latter half, and having two rookies sort of holding that
Hmm.
defensive midfield, not easy, especially when you're trying to learn and develop.
Yeah.
And then just her getting thrown around the match or around the pitch, outside back, the
Yeah.
nine, defensive midfield.
How are you supposed to develop a not like
Yeah,
it's why we respect Jenna Bike so much is because she can do that, right?
right,
Like
right. And
it's
some
not for
players
everybody.
can't. Yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
it's not necessarily like Leilani is a prodigy, right? So like these are adjustments she's really never had to make as a soccer player. So it's going to take time. And it's why you're going to give the patience to that type of player because there is that high end talent. But how is she supposed to develop in that type of way if she's being thrown around all different positions? Because it's just impossible to find an identity.
Right. And at this point, I do think that that defensive midfield spot is B's for the
Oh yeah.
future. And I
Mhm.
don't I don't know how they're going to utilize Leilani in any way when it comes to the future of this club. And so I think
Yeah.
at the moment she's missed out, and the club's just going to have to sort of figure out what to
Yeah.
do for depth in the coming future.
Yeah, that and that's another position, right? You've got the B Franklins, you've got the Maitanes, you've got the positions to do it. Now, Hannah Anderson not playing, like we all know how good of a player she is, right? But the
Crazy.
results so far, the last few goals against San Diego, I think that was more overarching issues than anything else. But it's not like they've played poorly without Hannah. And I think we both think she's a great player, don't get me wrong, but results are speaking for themselves right now. So midfield that just really they need one or two more pieces and Julia Grosso doesn't bring enough of an edge to bring her playmaking back there. So it needs to be somebody else. And you'd love to see it from Leilani, but not everybody can make those line breaking passes from
Right.
inside their own defensive third. That's a really tough job to do. So it's going to take a real player to do it. But that is a wide open job for someone to steal in this roster because Chicago desperately needs somebody who could just create a chance or two out of nothing.
Yeah, so true. And we'll see what, comes from this club moving forward. There's some new things I'm sure that are going to come down the line. We'll see next week when the Stars will be back at SeatGeek to take on the Washington Spirit, as Joe mentioned, Saturday, 11:50 a.m. Central Time. If you're not headed to the match, you can catch it on ABC, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus. So that's fun.
But no kids broadcast, so it's kind of
No,
lame, right? If you're gonna have it
that
on
would be
Disney
nice if there
Plus,
was a
like,
little Disney Plus kids
oh my God,
broadcast.
I'd so much rather watch that. Like, oh my,
So
because
true.
think about it, it's so much faster than the NFL ones, right? So you just have anytime a player falls down, it's going to be a cartoon character falling down. You make it slime. Yeah, okay, yo. Paramount, call us. We have some
Let's do
thoughts.
this.
Please, please. LT already has all the technical skills. Yes, you do.
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
I'm behind the scenes in the
I
TV
am
world. I know how
I
this
am a
works.
creative person, creative consultant. My fees are expensive, so
We'll put
like,
you on the
but
broadcast.
no,
Uh,
no one wants that. Oh yeah, they'll
no.
be like, "Who's this dude? Who's the character?" And it's like, no, that's just what he looks like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So Washington's on a little bit of a two-loss slide at the moment
Yeah,
after starting the season, winning their first four or winning four of the first five matches of the
yeah.
season. So sure, you like you said, it could be winnable. Who knows?
But
Like
Gift Monday's turned it on right now. Like she's one of these people who's getting minutes, right? So in taking advantage of it, so they have the ability to score and score quickly. So it's not like nothing's a walk in the park. They've got too much talent in this squad that maybe
absolutely,
hasn't played well, but it, it's not going to be an easy result on
it's not going
Saturday.
to be
Those
easy,
early
no,
games. No, no, no,
certainly,
no,
but it
no.
could happen.
Oh yeah. We'll see. We'll see. We're in wait and see mode with this team at this
Yeah,
point.
absolutely,
We believe in the defense.
that's
We'll
true.
see in the offense because it is just 3 goals through 7 games. There's just nothing else to be said.
Yeah, I have more belief in this defense than I've had in a long time
Yeah,
with
same,
this club.
same. The mistakes just aren't there that at this point of the year. Knock on wood. If something changes, I'm so sorry.
Right. Make sure that you are a member of our Discord community if you want some people to talk to during these matches. Our match chat channel is always full of wonderful people talking about the match. Link is in the description. For now, make sure that you are subscribed to our channel across all podcast platforms and YouTube. Go to redstarsport.com to keep up the latest news and more of Liz's match recaps between episodes. We'll be back next week to recap the match against Washington. Joe, thanks for joining me today. It's been
Oh,
nice to have my
my
press box
pleasure.
buddy next to me.
I miss you dearly. I won't see you soon. I know
I know.
our
I'll
schedules
be
stink.
there. I'll be there Saturday. You will
And I
not.
won't. Yeah, sorry guys. Family stuff. So it's all
We
good family
understand.
stuff. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, won't be there. A little sad about it. But yeah, LT will at least not have to talk to a crazy person for a few hours. So, he did his community service tonight.
Yeah, that's what this was a makeup for it.
I really, really appreciate it. And I got to tell you, this community, yours, y'all have created, it's clear that they care about the squad no matter what. And that is awesome for a team that has not necessarily repaid them in the last few years. So kudos to everything you guys have built. It really is cool. And I admire the fact that you have not changed your name because damn right it is Red Stars Report.
Yeah, that's my name now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And be defiant about it. Why not? Everyone enjoys it. It brings a smile to everybody's face, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah,
certainly. And thank you
absolutely.
for your kind words about our
That's the
community. It's
truth.
something that we've, worked hard on building, and I'm always really proud of the people that have stuck around through all of this.
I can't believe they have. So, kudos to all of y'all because it hasn't been easy.
All right, and we'll see you next week for another Red Stars report.